Welcome to SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Lorraine Ali from the Los Angeles Times. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the cast of We Are Lady Parts, a fantastic series, which is about an all-female Muslim punk rock band. And I swear, I feel like I dreamt this series up and it couldn't be happening because it's so fantastic. So I would like to just throw this to all of you to introduce yourselves now.
Hi, my name is Anjana Vasan and I play Amina.
Hi, my name is Kameela Impey and I play Syra.
Hi, I'm Lucie Shorthouse and I play Mumtaz.
And hey, I'm Faith Omole and I play Bisma.
Thank you so much for being here. And this series, there's so many wonderful things about it, but one of them is that it's so rare that we see often the representation of Muslim women on screen is so narrow. And this is just like wide open. And then you also are busting all these taboos and busting a lot of punk rock and rock tropes. All these things are happening at once and it's fantastic comedy. So I just want to ask you to start off, and I'm going to throw the first one to you, Faith. What was your impression this first came across your radar, and can you talk a little bit about your character as well?
Okay, so when I first got it, I got this script through during the pandemic, 2020. A lot was going on in the world as well. I mean, there was a lot going on with the BLM movement. I think we were starting to think as a world about the way we were telling stories and the way about including everybody in this kind of narrative and in this medium of television and film, and how we could do a better job of that. And I think when this came along, it felt, it almost felt like it had been written 2 weeks ago and made. But the amazing thing is that Nida's had been working on it for 5 years and had been fighting for it, and everyone at the network was getting ready to bring this thing out. So when it came across, I was like, I have to be a part of it because it's, so amazing. I think what's really cool about our show is that it doesn't just center one woman, one woman of Muslim culture or, one black or brown woman, but it centers 5. And I think that's really fantastic. And so kind of the unity of that is what drew me to this show. So I play Bisma, and she's kind of, I guess she's the mother of the group, and she's kind of the heart of the group. And I mean to say she takes care of everybody's heart. So she makes sure that everybody's okay. And that was really nice for me as Faith to do within this group of wonderful women that I'm working with. So yeah, it's been a pleasure for me.
And Anjana, can you speak a little bit about Amina, who has this horrible stage fright, and the vomiting, the vomiting from stage fright is one of her fantastic attributes. So yeah.
She considers it a flaw, but I'm glad you consider it an attribute. I think it was there was one day on set where they were discussing, is it the choice of chicken soup or mixed vegetable soup in terms of the detail of the vomit. That was when I was like, wow, this is an interesting point in my career. She's a super nerd, and they're really fun to play. And I think the story of her having the anxiety and the stage fright, could have been something that feels very broad and that we laugh at. And what I love that Nida included in the writing was that there was a real exploration of where that was coming from. And it felt like it was grounded in something that was real, she's awkward and she's anxious, but there's a lot of insecurity that comes that she sort of puts such pressure on herself. And I think that's something that everyone can relate to. I think we've all been Amina at some point in our lives. And I think that's just an extreme version of that kind of fear that we've all experienced. And it was important for me to feel that we grounded that in something very real. And I think it was really helpful the way Nida wrote the character to do that.
And the way that the series starts out, it starts out with something you think you're going into, which is what you see often in television or film. It's like the Muslim girl in the meeting, possibly with the arranged marriage and the parents in the room. And I love how this unfolds with Syra. Sorry, did I say her name right?
Syra.
Yeah. I love how this unfolds with Syra kind of tricking Amina into joining the band with the idea of, well, you're going to find a husband, because it's not her parents that are pushing her to find the husband, it's Amina. So Syra, that whole storyline and particularly your character, I just called you Syra, sorry.
It's Sarah, it's,
happens all the time, right? Sarah, that whole particular storyline, and particularly your character, like, I don't know, can you talk a little bit about it? Because she's so fantastic and she's so rageful and angry, and I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so she's the like anarchic lead singer of Lady Parts. But I think it's amazing that those two characters come together, because I think they help each other in very different ways. Because obviously Sarah's experiencing a lot of like dark attributes. She's going through grief, loss, kind of disconnection from her family. But her joy is centered in that band and in that sisterhood. So I think it's strange. Like, she feels so bad, I think, in the end with how she's treated Amina, stringing her along in this way. Because when she comes in, like, she sees a bit of herself in what Amina is. And so bringing her into the fold and realizing what she can give to the band is so important for her in the end.
Yeah. And if I could add to that, I do feel like what Sarah said, they do need each other a little bit. Like, Amina could do with some of Syra's fearlessness and just not that punk attitude of not caring what other people think about you. Like, be your authentic self, embrace your weirdness fully. And Syra could do with a bit of Amina's, thoughtfulness and carefulness, and sort of, I think, sometimes Syra can feel like the rage comes first before she sort of speaks, but then at the same time, I think what's nice about what you mentioned, which is the subverting of that stereotype right at the beginning, the very first scene, you think, oh, we've been here before. Brown woman wants to have an arranged marriage. And then it's immediately playful with that stereotype. It doesn't make fun of it. It just sort of plays with it. And then you think that this is a woman who is obsessively searching for the one. And you realize that that's just a kind of, she's overcompensating for an emptiness that's happening inside, which is she can't find someone if she can't find herself. So the real love story is not about her finding someone, it's about finding sisterhood. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about the show, that's actually where the real love story is. And we don't often see that with narratives that have to do with women on screen. It's always has to be about her finding the guy at the end. And I love that Syra goes through that as well. She just sort of, says we need, with her love story, it's a kind of meeting of equals, and they go, it's not going to work out for now. And that just feels like such a grown-up way to treat a love story.
Yeah, and it's the sisterhood is driving that. And also the passion isn't just this man in a relationship. It's not that, it's also the music and that idea of, and talking about just like busting down stereotypes. Lucie, like Mumtaz is
iconic.
Oh my gosh. It's the whole thing about niqabis is always like, whoa, and it's so mysterious. She just blows that apart. So if you can just talk a little bit about her.
I think it's great to see a niqabi woman with such availability on screen. And I think it debunks so many misinformed myths around Muslim women. And again, the narrative is joy-led, sisterhood-led. It's not a trauma-led thing, which again is so refreshing. And there's something about being Mumtaz. It's like I just feel it's like a superhero. It's she's just so courageous and fearless, and I think it's just great to see a niqabi woman with availability on screen, and it's a privilege to be part of that.
And like in her role particularly, but all of you, you're striking out in this pretty patriarchal world, I mean, yeah, of course there's female bands, but, particularly managers, usually men, usually white men. So it's pretty fantastic that all of you are pushing up against these sort of patriarchal roles, and in very, very different ways.
I think it's such a testament to the tenacity of women that we can get ish done, like hustlers. And, the way that Montez is willing to break down any door to make sure she can champion her girls and they can go as far as she knows they can go. That's a story that little girls deserve to have. We are resourceful and tenacious and persistent. Yeah.
And I think it felt really easy, I think, for us to play that kind of sisterhood and that womanhood, because all the girls are just so absolutely amazing. I feel like we could lean on each other all the time. And I've never been on a set like this. I've never been in a company like this where anyone can be like, I want to do this. And you've just got girls chanting like, you can do it, go for it, and there is no competition or anything. There is no ego, because we're all kind of there in it together and championing each other on. And that's just such a powerful thing. That's such a powerful thing for people to see. I think, regardless of what you look like, I think it's really cool to just see these women just support each other and love each other. And I think that's really great.
I mean, even on set, I'd be like watching the monitor and we'd be like, you look amazing. We were so hyping each other up so much that it was, art imitating life, but it was, I think, hopefully that feeds across on screen how much we just wanted everyone to win.
And all the photo shoots. Like, you can't take a photo in peace if you're in like this group of girls, because everyone's going to be like, yes, God, it's amazing.
We're very loud on set.
Very loud.
We've been told to shut up all the time because they're like, I need to work. But also, I mean, it's also led by women off screen as well. It's written and directed by a woman. Our DOP is a woman. Our head of departments, most of them are women. All our ADs were women. It was crazy. Like, I've never been surrounded by so many women on set. So I think that energy filtered through to energy on set as well.
Yeah, and in this series, also the comedy is so wickedly sharp. It's irreverent, it's sharp. It can be really specific, in terms of like immigrant culture or kind of insider Muslim stuff, but then also really universal. It just hits on all these areas. So I wanted to ask you, just in terms of you as actors doing comedy, was that a new thing? Was it difficult? What was that like for you?
It was just something I've always wanted to read, and the opportunity that I've always wanted to like have to be funny in like the broadest, biggest sense of the word, Like, personally for me, I grew up loving acting. I think it came mostly through sitcoms more than it did dramas. And even though my background is theatre and I've done lots of like serious straight plays, it's rare to have an opportunity to be funny, because you're always sort of serving the funny male character, or you don't have an opportunity to really let rip. And I think with this, it felt like there was just such freedom, at least speaking for myself with Amina, to bring in the physical comedy, and it just felt so freeing and so fun to play. I just relished it. I was channeling my inner Lucille Ball, who was like my childhood hero. I just loved every second of it.
Those were some of my favourite moments on set, were watching you do the kind of physical comedy moments. You were able to relish these moments, and it was just so joyful.
Because like I would go to Nita like, am I doing too much? And she'd be like, no, more, go for it. I'm just gonna let it roll. And I was like, that feels, it's very rare on a set that someone tells you that, to trust you so much. And I think it was with everyone, but she really just allowed us to like bring our own ideas, and it was very empowering for sure.
I think everyone as well is so different in the way that they do their comedy, that each person kind of spurs the next person on to try something different. And I think as soon as we read the script and saw all the fantasy moments, I think we all realised, there's so much to play with in this. But I love, because the characters are written so differently, you see how Nida has challenged so many people that she knows. That's why they're so like well-rounded and full with their comedy. You're just like, yeah, I can see this person. But even before like I've tried something, you're like, yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what it was, like reading the script and being like, I know that person. Like, I know that person, and I do find that person funny. Like, all these people in your world, you're like, oh my gosh, I have a friend who does that. For me, I kind of find everything funny, like probably not in the healthiest of ways, but I'm always looking for a joke. Like, I'm always looking. So I was like, brilliant. Like, there's a joke there somewhere. There's a joke, like, you know, and looking to find the others funny, looking to see what somebody's doing, being like, oh, I see what's going on. Yeah. So I felt like the script was like brimming with stuff that was funny, and then the girls were funny, and then it was like just slip in there and do a little something there and add to this. And yeah, we all kind of moved as one kind of instrument in the end as well. So it was like we'd kind of build on top of each other so we could present the final funny finale thing.
Like a band. Like you came together like a band.
Yeah.
And like the music, can we talk about the music? Because, oh my gosh, the music is so fantastic in this. And for those of you watching this who have not heard it, or Voldemort Under My Headscarf, is it Bashir with the good beard? No one's gonna wait. You guys tell me. Honor Kill My Sister But Me.
Honor Kill My Sister But Me.
Yeah. So fantastic. Can you, did you talk about do you know how to play music? Did you come into this playing music? And then those songs, I don't know how you did that without just like dying laughing, because they are so fantastic.
I think everyone had like different levels of musical experience. I play acoustic guitar and I sing. Weirdly, my musical taste matches Amina's musical taste, which is very folk and country. So it was not hard for me. I was like, I can't believe I'm playing a brown girl that loves folk and country music. This is insane. So, you know, I very much wanted Joan Baez in like Amina's in like closet where she has all her musical heroes in there. So that was that, you know, her introduction to this world is first from folk and country before she's even introduced to punk music. But I'd never played electric guitar before. So that was something I had to kind of pick up. I know Faith had to learn the bass in like 2 weeks, which is insane, but she did.
Yeah. It was a really anxious time. There was a lot of tears in that time. I got cast 2 weeks before we started rehearsals, and then they sent a bass to my house, and then I started to learn to play the bass, and I'd never played it before. I know how to play 6 songs. They're all in the show. That's it. And I just learn when they tell me to learn things. But yeah, I didn't know how to do it. For the audition, I knew how to pretend that everything was going to be okay as I badly played the bass. So just being like, yeah, this sounds really good, even though it didn't sound really good. I knew how to do that. And then by the time we got to the show, everything was in sync and we were good. It was good.
Yeah, I'd played guitar maybe when I was like 8 for like a year. But then I realized you had to have like, you couldn't have long fingernails. And it was at that time when you were 8 and you're like, got over that now. And then I was actually in a band for 6 years, but as like a soul singer. Which was great. But I'd been praying for a job to come along that had something like this, to be in a band, to play an instrument. And so Shez Manzoor, who's Nida's brother, taught us all the songs. And so we had individual lessons with him, the most patient and laid back man ever to exist. It was amazing. And then we came together as a band before we went into rehearsals. Yeah. So it was nice to step in already knowing each other.
Jump in.
Oh, no, they won't do themselves justice at all, but they are the real deal. They can play these instruments. You know, they're going, we can only play, to the point where I think me and our producer John, we sat there watching them with tears, because we were like, you don't believe it yet, but you are a real band. And what they were managed to create, their kind of chemistry and synergy that they had, their musicality, it's just beautiful. So they'll say, oh, you know, I learned. They were rock stars, 100%.
I was just going to add that Juliet, I think, had one of the hardest jobs because she is an amazing musician, a singer herself, and she composes all her own songs, but she doesn't play the drums. I think she plays guitar. So for her to learn the drums, you know, you can't cheat the drums on camera. Here's the thing. If I'm holding guitar, I can slightly move my body away from the camera. Juliet can't cheat it. So you have to go for it. So I was like, I think so impressed because when I saw her, because we obviously, as Lucy said, we were rehearsing separately and then we rehearsed together as a band and went through the songs like a set list. When I saw Juliet play, I just assumed she knew how to play drums. I assumed she was cast because she could play drums. So,
but even to the point where she learned to play drums and then wanted to learn to do tricks with her sticks. So that's dedication.
She was very good.
She was so good that when we were like, can we have another rehearsal to learn our song? She was like, can I just learn some tricks today? Because I've nailed it.
I taught twirl the drumstick in the back.
Yeah. Also, to talk about lyrics, to talk about them being really funny, I think what makes it funnier is that we're like taking them so seriously. And so part of the reason they're funny is because we're just like, yeah, this is my music, my passion. Like we're all playing it with such and even when we were like learning them, it was like, yeah, Bashir with the good beard, just pretty, like you didn't have time to laugh at it because you're just like, I've got to learn this song, I've got to perform. And then they get like the essays in and like you'd be doing a concert or a show or whatever and you'd be like, right, well, I've got to be good. So I haven't even got time to like laugh at the hilarity of all of this. Yeah. So when I watched it, I was like, oh, that's funny.
Last day on set, our final day of filming was the final scene. So we did the concert with all these like supporting artists. A lot of them were friends and family, you know. And it was, we did a concert all day. It was a night shoot and we were just playing these songs and they were loving it. And for a while I was like, this is the most powerful I've ever felt in my life. This is amazing. This is the closest to feeling like a rock star ever. It was insane. I'll never forget that night. It was like the best night.
It's also the night that Juliet lost her drumstick and had to play one-handed. It's a lot of memories.
Well, and you know, Sarah, you sing with, I mean, you are fierce. You're like railing this stuff with such conviction. It's so convincing. I mean, I was a music critic for years and I like went to like hardcore shows. I'm watching you and I'm like, oh, I'm invested. I believe this, you know? So good. So good.
That means a lot. When we went into rehearsal, I actually messaged the producers and asked if I could have punk lessons. And they were like, I don't think that exists. Okay, well, what do I have to do? And then obviously through rehearsal, we just realized like it's about letting go. It's about giving yourself permission to like not have to sound good, just like really feel the words and push them out. And I think there was definitely like a turning point, wasn't there? Like a day where we just went into like a hole and went there. And everyone's like, yeah, something just happened. And so it's good to keep channeling that.
Your 9 to 5 performance where we were like, what the heck? Like, she's absolutely amazing. But I remember after then, we were looking at her like, you okay? You good? Because she was just so incredible in that song and like literally left the building and went into like punk heaven. It was just like, she was amazing.
So can we talk about how the show's been received, the reaction, the response? You have a Peabody nomination, some BAFTA wins already as we're speaking. Yet we don't. By the time this is out there, you may have more wins, and you have a second season coming up at some point. So, can we just talk about the response and how? Like, did you expect this, or what? Talk about that.
When you say it all together, it does sound pretty cool, actually. You say it all together, it's like, oh, yeah.
Oh God, our show is really good, actually.
Feeling good.
We've been nominated for lots of stuff.
So many things.
Good.
It definitely surprised us. I think because from the blap that was filmed in 2018, I think there might have been a response that may have said, you know, there may be many opinions coming from all sectors of society. But I think because of the way the show pans out, it answers those questions for people to say, like, you know, we understand that that is out there and this is how we deal with it. So we had so much love pour in from everywhere about, you know, people realizing that you can claim your identity, that you're not, there are so many people that consider themselves outsiders that are now seen and heard, and like we now connect with them and we have a place, we all have a place. So it's been quite overwhelming, actually. My favorite one is, there's a guy called Chris from Canada who said, a white guy called Chris, and he said he'd never imagined that 5, you know, brown and black women would change his life. I was like, that's amazing. That's amazing. Because there's something in there for everyone. You don't have to be Muslim, you don't have to be of colour. Like, it is for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's what's been really cool. It's like to be received so well, not just by like awarding bodies and stuff, but just by people, you know, because that's why we do it. That's who we're channeling. That's who we see. That's why we picked up the script and said, I think I can do it. It's because we know those people. And I know for me, I know for all of us, I think we're all just nerds, really, like goofy. And this show is a show for the others and for the people who have at times felt a bit like they weren't seen. And we kind of bring a place where all the weirdos can gather and be together and be celebrated. And so that's been really cool. And so when all these nominations and stuff come up, I think it feels a bit bigger than us, because it's kind of saying, like, you know, to all those other kids, for all the people that do have stage fright, or, you know, listen to alternative music, or don't have that many friends, or feel like an outsider in your family, like, you know, people see your story and they recognize it and they find you funny and they find you sweet and they find you endearing, and that's really cool. And that's what I'm really excited to keep exploring with this show.
I think when you see the poster for the show and you don't know anything about it, you wouldn't assume it's a mainstream show. It, you know, it is a show when you watch it is for everyone, but you might not think that looking at the poster for the show or the trailer. So I feel like if these nominations mean more people will discover the show, then I'm excited, because I don't think it was just an acting gig for any one of us. So I think with this show, we're excited about more and more people finding and discovering the show, for the audience of the show to grow. And I think that's why the nominations are exciting. It just means that more people will find out about the band and the songs and the stories.
What's really surreal is because we filmed it in 2020, and we had to kind of modify how we'd film it. So we had the, you know, in terms of external shots, we then had to film within this kind of purpose-built studio set. So it was kind of like this weird tiny bubble, and it felt very much ours because we kind of filmed in this studio the whole time. And so for it to be received and be out there, it's I think it's extra overwhelming a little, because we've shot it in such a bubble. But I think we all remember first seeing someone who looked like us on TV, because those moments were so rare. And I was like, or my mom would like shout down the stairs, because those moments matter, you know. And to know that, okay, we're being part of something that allows other people to go, that's me. Or, I mean, I said this when the girls were first performing and I got to watch them do 9 to 5. I said, I'm just imagining all the little brown and black girls who go to their parents and say, I want to play guitar. Like that's what you do it for. It's great to get the accolades and the critical response. That's fantastic. But in terms of people, that's, especially young people, I think that's beautiful.
And there's the way that also some of those scenes are shot with those kind of almost like rock god video moments, you know, shot from below with the hijab blowing and the guitar. It just puts this kind of like almost iconic spin on it, which is so fantastic. It just adds another layer to like its accessibility, but also kind of the funny idea of the rock trope, which everybody can kind of relate to. Not an observation, not really a question, but it's just very cool.
My favorite moment on set And I remember texting Lucy this the day after we finished filming this scene. It was in the countryside, and when the camera is sort of following all the girls dancing and being a bit mad in the countryside, and there's a shot of Lucy, of Mumtaz, with the purple flare. And I watched that on the camera, and like my eyes sort of teared up because it just looked so iconic. And it was like, oh, this is the show that we're making. Like it all kind of just made sense for me. Like until then it was like this little comedy that we're making. And in that moment, it became something bigger and more expansive. It looked so cinematic. You know, it felt like something out of a movie, like something bigger. And I was like, okay, I don't care what other people think. This show is amazing.
Can we just talk about, I know it's hard, it's probably hard to think about what's coming next. Well, there's a season 2 coming next. Are there other things that you're working on now, or other things that you can talk about? Or what do you see otherwise coming up next?
We all, the kind of cast, went to support Faith in an incredible show. I know how talented Faith is, but I've seen her as Bisma, and to go, oh my gosh, like how much talent she's got there to unearth and to access. And it was just so great to see someone you love so much as something else as well. And likewise with Ange in Killing Eve as well. And I see Sarah when she does her beautiful singing, and it's so different to Syra as well. And it's just, and Juliet with her music, it's so great to see these girls do their other things, because they're still as badass and boss with that stuff as they are in the show.
Love you.
Okay, then I'm just gonna ask you this last question, and if you can do it in maybe a sentence, what do you hope people get out of We Are Lady Parts when they watch it? What do you hope they come away with?
I would love people to come away with a real sense of belonging, knowing that there is definitely space for them in the world, even though sometimes it might not feel like that. Their people are out there, and their people are right here as well. And that weirdness is, like Faye said, something to be celebrated.
I would say courage. I hope it inspires people to be more courageous. And I don't know how to phrase this, but it's just to see Black and brown bodies smiling and being happy and joyful. I think it's so long overdue. It's just pure joy. Yeah.
I think one of the best things about We Are Lady Parts and the cast is the kind of the fearless love that they have for each other. I'd say within the whole group of us. And I would love people to love their friends fearlessly without fear of being abandoned or being denied anything. I would love them to love their friends wholeheartedly and to accept them wholeheartedly for exactly who they are, and be open to discover new things about them, maybe the hidden things that they worry about or are scared about. If we can teach people to love the people they love better, that would be good.
I would say to be who you are on your own terms, and to make art completely on your own terms as well. I think that's what punk is to just do what you want to do on your terms, and it's not about external validation.
Nice, that's so lovely. Well, on behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, thank you so much for sharing your experience. And this has been fantastic and so punk rock. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.